This video was voted into being by the super kind folks over on our Patreon. Check out how you can vote for the next video at patreon.com/DCAU Watchtower. Excuse me, sir.
6 feet, man.
Oh, sorry. Can you tell me all the superpowers of Superman?
He flies, he has laser vision, he can like blow really hard breath.
Doesn't he have like some heat vision kind of thing? He's a pretty strong dude.
Heat vision? He's got like a really strong breath thing, right?
You can see what underwear you're wearing.
He's handsome.
Chances are the first ones that come to mind are
faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings at a single bound,
and you're not wrong. When Superman debuted in 1938, this was basically the peak of his abilities. He couldn't fly, he couldn't turn back time, he couldn't kiss you into forgetting the last few hours, but by today's standards, the dude is pretty unstoppable. If the story calls for it, it's likely he can do it. However, the 90s Superman cartoon, part of the DC animated universe, nerfed the guy to a degree the likes of which superhero media consumers had never seen before. Batman is almost intrinsically cooler because he has that dark edge to him. You don't have to think very hard to make Batman an interesting character. You have to put more thought in to make Superman interesting. It's a challenge. Justice League Season 1 Superman especially was weak as shit. One hit from Star Sapphire and he's toast. One shot from a Nazi and he's toast. Like 2 or 3 shots from some random Atlantis soldier and he needs to go lie down. That being said, the now famous World of Cardboard speech from the Justice League Unlimited finale proves he is more than what he appears. If he wants to be. So how strong is this Superman really, and what are all his powers? Side note, I'm gonna be including questionably canon tie-in media, like the DCAU comics, video games, yes, even Brainiac attacks. Why? Well, Superman's powers contradict themselves so much across all this stuff. They kind of culminate in the idea that this version of Superman may have the capacity to do all these things, but just doesn't necessarily show he can do them in every version of the DCAU. You'll see what I mean as we go along. Because of whatever technobabble mumbo-jumbo, Superman's Kryptonian DNA energizes from the sun's yellow rays, giving him all these wonderful superhuman abilities we'll be covering. Now, the obvious place to start would be the thing that we see him do most often, fly. This is a pretty blatant one. In a move probably paying homage to the character's early days of only being able to jump really high, teenage Superman starts off leaping over a big ditch, and then realizing he can probably push it further and flying all over the top of Smallville. Say what you will about the Man of Steel first flight sequence, this one's up there too. Up in the sky. Throughout the rest of his appearances in the entirety of the DCAU, there's absolutely no question he can fly. We can 100% put this on the list. Another power even your grandma probably knows Superman has is super hearing, which is also introduced in his series' opening episode arc.
In the last few months, I've been hearing things, things I couldn't before.
He can also hear specific frequencies human beings can't. Not like shrill, irritating, dog bark-inducing stuff like in the Christopher Reeve movie. That trope is saved for Jessica Cruz. But instead, something like the pitches that emit from the signal watches he hands out to Jimmy Olsen and Batman. And I do mean pitches, plural, because the sound changes every time we hear it. Though, since we do hear the sound when Huntress is holding Jimmy's watch, as if diegetically, that means the sounds that the characters within this world can actually hear for those who didn't go to film school. It could be that this frequency is just something that Superman's ears are best attuned to. And he takes special care to hone in on Lois Lane's voice, or more realistically, screams, despite her not having one of these watches. Wouldn't it be funny if he showed up to save Andrea Beaumont by accident? Because they're both voiced by Dana Delaney. Next up is X-ray vision, which he uses to see through solid objects, except anything made from lead. Which on the surface sounds like a random silly fallacy like Green Lantern rings can't work on the color yellow, or the even sillier version where the original Green Lantern's ring couldn't work on wood. But in actuality, real-world X-rays don't pass through lead either. It's why the dentist sticks a big guard thing in your mouth while x-raying your teeth to protect you from dentist cancer. And it's why the Kents, I mean Santa Claus, always wraps Superman's presents in the stuff so he can't super snoop.
You're saying you can see through walls? So, how many times have you peeked into the girls' locker room, huh?
Should probably line that place with lead if any public school custodians are listening. The weirdest use of this power is no doubt from the possibly worst episode of his series, Unity, when Superman and Supergirl fire X-rays like beams to destroy a bunch of tentacle aliens. But besides X-rays, there's actually a multitude of other things Superman can do with those beautiful little beady eyes of his.
Superman will return.
You know, they say Superman is the Man of Steel.
If you'd like to support the Watchtower Database, you can visit patreon.com/DCAU Watchtower, where you'll find all sorts of cool rewards like monthly video hangouts, or me drawing you something, or voting for the videos that we make on this channel, or all sorts of other cool behind-the-scenes stuff that you won't find anywhere else. This week we want to thank our brand new patron, Plastic Caskets. Cool name. And as always, we'd love to thank Dark Poet 1792, Robert Sterling, Daniel Chan, Cameo Shadowness, Luke Mears, and Richard Mon 12. I did it. I didn't look at the phone. I did it. You know, recently I watched a video of ours that came out around this time of year 2 years ago, and we had 9 patrons. And now we have almost 100. You could be patron number 100. You person, you. And hey, if you don't have like any money at all, it's okay. You can watch things online that are free without having to pay for them, and you're never expected to do so. But if you'd like to support us and have the ability to, well, I think you get what I'm saying. If you don't want to pay for anything, you just subscribe to the channel. That's free also, and it makes us happy. Again, that's patreon.com/DCAU Watchtower. Go look at it now. Then finish this video, or in the other order. Take your pick, that's fine. I don't really care. Bye. Whoa, he landed upright. That's impressive.
Superman.
We now return to Superman.
I feel like I should be doing this video with my glasses off, but oh man, I cannot read that at all. Okay. Heat vision. Like a lot of this stuff, we first see Superman discover it as a teenager. Wait, but does that mean Santa only started wrapping his presents in lead in high school? Did DCAU Clark Kent still believe in Santa in high school? Does he now? Is Santa real? We all know this one. Big red lasers coming out of his eyes. Though it does appear that Superman can control their size and strength depending on the situation. The first time we see him use heat vision, there's not even a visible beam, as he melts a crowbar in Jonathan Kent's hands.
All you did was look at it.
And another Kryptonian, Mala, does the same when heat looking at a stack of logs. On the other end of the heat vision line graph though, we've got stuff like in Legacy, where Superman blasts a heat vision ray so wide it disintegrates an entire skyline of parademons at once. Or Justice League Unlimited number 18, where a dying Superman sends a huge beam into space as a distress signal. And then somewhere in the middle we've got the normal level beams he can shoot at either continuous streams or short controlled bursts. Superman has also been shown to be able to focus his heat vision for precision firing, like when he welds together part of Space Cabbie's taxi in that same JLU issue, or when he disarms the Joker's bombs in Wild Cards. Superman's eyes can do pretty much anything. They can even rebuild the Great Wall of China, wait no, but they can see really far or small scale. The most memorable instance of his telescopic vision may be from World's Finest, you know, the touche moment. Good stuff. But he also manages to spy on Parasite escaping Stryker's Island from the Metropolis mainland, watch a big ancient interdimensional squid monster retreat into the ocean, or even in the almost DCAU Crisis on Two Earths movie, where he makes sure Lex Luthor is still in prison. Hey, that movie is said to still be 90 to 95% of what it was supposed to be if it was going to be in the DCAU, so eat my shorts or something. The microscopic vision is used in tandem with his X-ray vision in both Unity and the Static Shock crossover Toys in the Hood, and is used to look into the Dark Heart's Dark Heart in Dark Heart. It also comes into play in a handful of Justice League Adventures issues used to study people's cells or DNA. But more than that, Superman can also see in infrared, able to scan a rooftop for the real luminous among his hard light duplicates, or to scan a whole building for heat signatures.
You don't need supervision for that. Can't you feel the heat?
But more than that, he can also see radio waves and microwaves if he feels like it, or whatever energy this one space kid is putting off in Justice League Adventures number 24. And he can see through Joker's blindingly bright map light. Should we just categorize all this eye stuff as supervision?
Man, for somebody with like 50 different kinds of vision, you are so blind.
50? But we only have 7 or so counted. We're gonna be here all night. But you wanna know the Superman power that pisses me off the most? Does he have freeze breath or not? There's tons of instances in the DCAU of Superman taking in a big old gasp and blowing out a big old gust to put out a big old fire or blow away some big old or small old bad guys. But this specific moment from Starcrossed has been a point of fan base contention for forever. No, not the yellow bat suit. He's clearly blowing the Mr. Freeze Gun freeze ray back at Krager, right? It's paying tribute to freeze breath because this version of Superman doesn't have that power, right? Except for in Superman Adventures number 36 when he freeze breaths some thugs, or in Justice League Adventures number 8 when he freeze breaths a big tidal wave, or in Brainiac Attacks when he freeze breaths Brainiac, or in Superman 64 when he, oh god, how long has this been here? So like I brought up top, perhaps this Superman has the capacity for freeze breath, he just never uses it in the cartoons specifically. But whether he has freeze breath or just super breath establishes that Superman does have lungs, so does he need to breathe?
It's a ridiculous question. False.
It's common to see even this version of Superman underwater without any sort of breathing apparatus, either voluntarily following villains into the water or staying under for quite a long time before surfacing, not to mention the 20 times he submerges for a sec to heat vision boat holes. But then he's seen many other times with a breathing mask, a sci-fi rebreather, or even full scuba gear. The same goes for being in space. Ignoring all the times in the JL and JLU tie-in comics where he's just in space, no problem, talking like normal, not to mention even Hawkgirl once is shown this way, Superman usually has a spacesuit, which he wears throughout his solo cartoon every time he goes into space without fail, except the one fail when he has to stop a big meteor, and throughout the Justice League shows without fail, except the one fail when he has to stop a big laser.
What is going on? What are you doing?
But both of those were pretty big emergency situations. No time to go find his clunky space armor and put it on, even telephone booth style. Coupled with these moments from Little Big Head Man, where Bizarro, Superman's clone, gasps for breath in space. Absolute Power, where fellow Kryptonians Jaxer and Mala do the same.
Had the aliens not been there, we would have asphyxiated.
And Ultimatum, where Wind Dragon is able to suffocate Superman. It's pretty clear that, yes, he needs to breathe.
Your lungs are going to burn.
Sorry, underwater segments of Superman 64. Jesus Christ. Regardless of which oxygenless location he finds himself, it does seem like Superman can hold his breath for a hell of a lot longer than you or me, though maybe not the world record holding dude. Holy shit, 22 minutes? But speaking of breathing in space and going really fast, there's this moment from Justice League versus the Fatal Five, the perfect segue into super speed. Smeary, blurry super speed. His exact speed is something of a mystery. There's no definite answer. In the Justice League episode Twilight, he can dodge Darkseid's Omega beams.
Impressive. No one has ever avoided my Omega beam.
False.
But those things must be slow as hell. If Batman can backflip away fast enough, come on. Plus they shoot around at like 45-degree angles. Mama always said shortest distance between 2 points is a bunch of zigzags. In Eclipsed, Superman says,
even I can't fly that fast,
when the League is discussing reaching light speed. So he's under 670 million miles an hour, which is so really narrowed down. In fact, he may be way under, as we see in Superman Adventures number 16, that he boasts he can reach Gotham City in 10 minutes. And as we know from issue 4 of that series, that's about 110 miles. So he can only go 660 miles per hour. That is while carrying an airplane, so he's probably at least a little faster solo. He races the Flash in Speed Demons, where the two seem pretty equally matched. And while we never found out who did win that race, Flash did one time circle the entire planet in about half a second, multiple times in a row. Yeah, he faded into the Speed Force by doing so, but he still did it. Superman also congratulates Flash after Wally runs a Joker bomb out of Las Vegas at a redonkulous click, as if he wouldn't have been able to do the same. And in Justice League Adventures number 7, he's sweating just trying to keep up with the guy. In the JL finale Starcrossed, however, he manages to swoop in and save Batman from certain death via kamikazeing the Watchtower. We never hear the exact height above Earth the Watchtower orbits in the DCAU, but in the mainstream comics, it's 22,300 miles up there. That kinda doesn't jive with Batman's ability to drop down in a javelin in just a couple minutes, but maybe either the two watchtowers were different distances from the planet's surface, or it's a cartoon and I'm thinking too hard. So since it can't possibly be that second one, here's the math. If the episode is chugging along in real time, which seems plausible given the back and forth nature of the final fight scenes, it takes the watchtower just under 7 minutes, 6 minutes and 55 seconds to be exact, to travel that assumed 22,300 miles. So this thing is theoretically going just over 191,000 miles per hour, or almost 3,186 miles per minute. Again, I'm not sure I believe that, but if true, then Superman being able to catch up to it in time to fly in and rescue Batman means he's going at least that fast, if not slightly faster. Compare this with the climactic scene from Justice League vs. the Fatal Five, where Superman chases the Emerald Eye of Ekron to the sun. Again, assuming the movie is playing out in real time for these moments, and understanding the sun's distance from Earth is roughly 93.4 million miles, the Emerald Eye gets there in 4 minutes and 15 seconds, while Superman just barely doesn't catch up to it in a mere 55 seconds. The Eye going 1.4 billion miles an hour. Superman? 5.6 billion miles per hour.
Superman
can't do this.
And in the Batman Beyond two-parter The Call, which introduced the concept of the Justice League to this universe, Terry McGinnis asks Old Man Wayne over his intercom what the top speed of the Batmobile is.
What's the top speed on this thing?
Mach 3.
Is that faster than a speeding bullet?
Yes. Like almost 1.5 times faster. If the Batmobile is going at its top speed, Mach 3 is 2,301.81 miles an hour, and Superman pretty easily catches up. I mean, with what we know of his fun in the sun, it's pretty much a lost cause at this point. So, on Superman's worst day, carrying a big plane on his back, he's as slow as 660 miles per hour. Maybe just so he doesn't jostle all the plane passengers into jelly. And on his best day, trying to snag a big green eyeball out of space, he's upwards of over 5.5 billion miles per hour, probably all depending on how cardboard the world is at the moment. And now, before our final couple of power breakdowns, a speed round of his weaknesses. Kryptonite, seen in the forms of slivers, small chunks, big kid chunks, gas clouds, lasers, and metamorpho arms. Pieces of his home planet Krypton, they followed baby Superman through his wormhole to Earth and now f*** him up any chance they get. Red sunlight, seen in the forms of fake suns, real suns, suns of other planets, a dozen or so rooms he gets stuck in, and Captain Atom arms. The opposite of yellow sun energy, this saps his strength down to that of a normal Earth person, which makes me wonder how come in Secret Origins when the alien invaders slash Martian killers slash not the Imperiums blot out the sun, it doesn't affect Superman. Was this just one too many plot points for the episode? You had enough room for Batman to fight a squishy dog. Magic, seen in the forms of ancient artifacts, sorcerers, demons, Shazam lightning, angry zombies, fifth dimensional imps, and big spiky squid arms. To be fair, magic isn't actually a weakness, more that he has no defenses against it. It hurts him just as much as it does anybody. Why? I don't know. Because comics. Wait, am I gonna be sued by Comic Drake now? Electricity, also not really defined as a weakness, but watch this montage and tell me it don't hurt him pretty dang bad. And of course, Arija's anti-man gas.
Great row.
So with all these things that make Superman go ow, even with all the amazing powers he has, it begs the question, how truly invulnerable is this version of Superman? Obviously, Superman isn't, like, unable to be harmed, but he's quite clearly very close to that point. A dozen soldiers firing machine guns? No problem.
This is someone who could have a building fall on him and not feel it.
And fire doesn't really bother him at all. He's surrounded by liquid magma and just kind of grunts about it. He burrows tunnels through a volcano and only has to stop for a sec to catch his breath. He blasts through a plane Human Torch style and just shrugs it off.
The fire never touched me.
But there are foes or weapons strong enough to fatally harm the man of not so steel sometimes. In the Fatal 5 movie, the Persuader's nanometer-sharpened atomic axe slices through him enough to make him almost bleed out. Darkseid's agony matrix brings him to a fetal position in agony. Doomsday beats the super snot out of him by virtue of being a Superman clone altered to be his superior. Wait, then why can't Doomsday fly or use 50 different kinds of vision? And they left in the kryptonite weakness? Come on, Cadmus.
We can do better than that.
Like I said at the start, Superman was just a super-wuss in season 1 of Justice League. He's a tough character. You don't want him to be too powerful, but you don't want to make him too wimpy. The trap we fell into on Justice League was, again, we have 7 of these guys and whatever villains they go up against have to be big, powerful villains. So we use the easy trick of saying, okay, the villain walks into the scene and takes Superman down with one punch. That way we automatically know that he's a bad guy and it's going to take the entire Justice League to take him down. We didn't handle that with enough finesse. Producer James Tucker added to this on the Comics Continuum website saying, in Justice League he gets knocked down the exact same way he gets knocked down in Superman. I personally don't think we've portrayed him weaker. We just haven't shown him do everything he can do on the Justice League show. Like freeze breath? This particular aspect of Superman kind of goes hand in hand with his super strength. Because, as Tucker says, by the end of Justice League Unlimited, damn did we see everything he can do.
What we have here is a rare opportunity for me to cut loose and show you just how powerful I really am.
Yeah, this is kind of a cheap Deus Ex Machina, but man, it's fun to see Superman kick some butt. And look at that slow-mo shockwave. It's so cool! But is Superman always capable of this Super Saiyan level? When villains like Parasite or Amazo copy his powers, do they automatically have access to this type of strength? Or when Jaxer and Mala gained superpowers, would they have been able to punch Darkseid through several buildings? You'd think brainwashed Superman in Legacy wouldn't hold back, but I'm just gonna blame these inconsistencies on the world's mightiest weapon, The pen. Super strength is actually the first power we see Superman use in the DCAU, but unfortunately, his exact strength levels aren't something we can really easily track because of this when the moment calls for it writing style. Sometimes he can easily pick up a whole cruise ship or flick Grodd across a football field with one finger, and sometimes he groans while lifting a tank. Sometimes he can hold up an entire falling skyscraper, and sometimes he can barely hold one fire engine.
I can do this all day.
Yeah, I know.
However, this also isn't taking into account how Superman's powers have changed for better or worse as he ages, either from his 20s to his 30s or to his 60s. Superman is not immortal. By the late 30th century, during the age of the Legion of Superheroes, he is a hero remembered, a hero celebrated, a hero of the past. Yes, some versions of Superman have lived up to hundreds upon hundreds of years and or become the living embodiment of the sun, but not this guy. This guy just gets Mr. Fantastic hair and his dad's vocal cords when he gets to be grandpa aged, noticeably more youthful and in shape than what we see of old Batman.
You seem to be holding up pretty well. I could use some of that Kryptonian DNA.
While it's difficult, there's just barely a through line we can track for Superman's increasing strength. From the Superman cartoon where this hydraulic press has really given him some trouble, to the Fatal 5 movie set several years later where he can handle holding up this building enough that he tells Wonder Woman he doesn't need help, to Batman Beyond decades later when the skyscraper thing happens. And that's even when he's
an old guy.
He also has a lot of trouble saving a crashing plane in his debut episode arc, but nabs this one out of the sky in JLU's Clash like it's no trouble at all. And in that same episode, while fighting Captain Marvel because testosterone, Superman can pick up an entire bank vault, the door of which alone commonly weighs around 45,000 pounds. And then we get back to the whole world of cardboard speech where, well, all bets are off. After all of this, there's a quick couple lesser used powers Superman also has, like hyper-intelligence, useful for getting perfect midterm scores or Iron Man style calculating the martial arts moves of a cyber ninja, and there's the one time he mimicked Batman and Robin's voices.
Precise muscle control.
Plus, I have a pretty good ear. Don't do that again.
And he didn't. Unless he's purposely mimicking his dad's voice when he's old. I don't like that. In the end, Superman's superpowers range from cut and dry, this is definitely a thing, to perplexing and frustrating, oh my god, can he do this or not? So it's no surprise that occasionally writers for the animated universe would get things wrong, putting the dude in space without a spacesuit or giving him freeze breath when I swear to Rao he does not have freeze breath. But because of how many powers the character has had throughout his entire existence, it's easy to see why someone would come to certain conclusions. The Justice League's gonna be in space? Of course Superman can breathe up there. He's Superman! So make of all this what you will. I've done my best to explain it all, and now you can draw your own conclusions. Superman may be referred to as the most powerful of all our heroes, but sometimes he just sure doesn't seem like it. One fire engine dude? Here's the final list of superpowers, but also of our Patreon supporters. See if you can figure out which is which. You can see all the ways you can help support the Watchtower Database by visiting patreon.com/DCAU Watchtower. And hey, if you can't afford a couple bucks a month, no sweat. But if you have a couple bucks in general, we also have a merch store where we've got tons of t-shirts and hoodies and phone cases and even a pair of leggings with Maddie's giant cartoon head on them. No one has bought those yet, and I really want someone to do it and send us a picture, please. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so I can feel like all this was worth the hours and hours of research, script writing, filming, and editing. Am I trying to guilt trip you? Well, yeah, but only because we're trying to hit 100,000 subscribers before the year is up. And most people watching these videos are not subscribed. Boo! I'll retract the boo if you just click the button. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next Sunday for our breakdown of Batman: The Adventures Continue numero 3. Bye!